The massive alien warship limped through space toward Titan Station, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere from dozens of wounds. Chief Engineer Park Ji-ho watched through the observation window as the enormous vessel slowly approached their repair docks. He had seen many damaged ships in his 20 years running the station, but nothing quite like this. "What do you think happened to them?" asked Kim Nari, his assistant engineer, as she checked the incoming data on her tablet. Ji-ho shook his head. "Whatever it was bad. Look at those burn marks, and see how their engines are barely working? They're lucky they made it here at all." The ship was unlike anything in human design, where human vessels were built with straight lines and practical shapes. This alien craft curved and twisted like a living thing. Its dark purple hull seemed to shimmer even through the damage, and strange symbols glowed weakly along its sides. "Sir," called out Lee Dae-ho from the communications desk. "We're getting a transmission, audio and visual." The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the alien ship. The creature that appeared made Nari gasp softly. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished stone. Most striking were its eyes, 6 of them, arranged in pairs across its face, all glowing with a soft blue light. "I am Admiral Kethavar of the Zenthari Empire," the alien spoke, its voice deep and rumbling through the translator. We require assistance." Ji-ho stepped forward. The Zenthari Empire was well known throughout the galaxy. They were proud, warriors who had never asked for help from anyone, especially not from humans. For them to come here meant they were truly desperate. "Admiral, this is Chief Engineer Park Ji-ho. We'll be happy to help. What's your situation?" The alien's 6 eyes seemed to dim with embarrassment. "Our quantum drive core has suffered complete failure. Our engineering teams have declared it impossible to repair. We heard rumors that humans can fix what others cannot." "Rumors?" Ji-ho smiled. "Admiral, we don't deal in rumors here. We deal in solutions. Please dock at Bay 7. We'll send a team aboard to assess the damage." As the alien ship slowly maneuvered toward the docking bay, Nari pulled up the station's recent records. "Sir, this is the 4th alien vessel this month requesting repairs. Remember the Valeth cruiser last week? And those Therian fighters?" Ji-ho nodded. Word was spreading through the galaxy about human repair capabilities, though he wasn't entirely sure why. Humans weren't the most advanced species in terms of technology. Their ships were simpler, their weapons less powerful, their computers slower than most alien equivalents. "Maybe that's exactly why we're good at this," he thought aloud. An hour later, Ji-ho and his repair team stood in the docking bay as the airlock cycled. The Zenthari ship was even more impressive up close. Its hull wasn't just damaged, it was barely holding together. Whatever had attacked them had been incredibly powerful. Admiral Kethavar emerged from the airlock, followed by 3 other Zenthari officers. Even in their weakened state, they moved with the controlled grace of natural warriors. The Admiral's 6 eyes fixed on Ji-ho. "Engineer Park," he said formally, "I must be honest. We have never requested aid from another species. This situation is difficult for us." "I understand, Admiral. Pride is something we humans know well, but sometimes asking for help is the strongest thing you can do." The Admiral's expression was hard to read, but something in his posture seemed to relax slightly. "Our quantum drive matrix exploded during battle with the Hive. The energy feedback damaged 17 other systems. Our engineers say that even if we could repair the drive, the cascade failures make the ship unsalvageable." Ji-ho exchanged glances with his team. The Hive were everyone's nightmare, a species of insect-like creatures that consumed entire planets. If the Zenthari had been fighting them, it explained the desperate damage to their ship. "Show us the damage," Ji-ho said simply. As they walked through the alien corridors, Ji-ho marveled at the ship's construction. Everything was built to last, centuries with redundant systems and perfect engineering. It was beautiful, but also inflexible. When something broke, it seemed designed to stay broken. The engine room was a disaster. The quantum drive, normally a smooth crystalline structure, was now a twisted wreck of melted metal and cracked energy conduits. Sparks still flew from damaged panels, and the air smelled of burned electronics. "You see?" said Admiral Kethvar. "Impossible to repair." But Jiho was already walking around the wreckage, his experienced eyes taking in every detail. His team spread out, examining the damage from different angles. Where the Zenthari saw destruction, the humans saw a puzzle. "Nari," Jiho called out. "What does this remind you of?" She studied the twisted remains of the drive core. "That old freighter we fixed last year? The one where the main engine melted down?" "Exactly. Deho, you remember how we solved that?" Lee Deho grinned. "We didn't replace the engine. We rebuilt it using parts from 3 different ship classes." Admiral Kethvar's 6 eyes widened. "You cannot be serious. This is advanced Zenthari technology. You cannot simply improvise repairs." Jiho turned to face the towering alien, his expression confident. "Admiral, with respect, there's something you need to understand about humans. We don't believe in impossible." The next morning, Lee Deho crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel of the Zenthari warship with his toolkit clanking behind him. The space was barely wide enough for a human, which explained why the tall Zenthari engineers couldn't reach the damaged systems buried deep in their own ship. "Pass me the wire cutters," he called back to Shin Yuna, who was squeezed into the tunnel behind him. "And grab that box of spare parts from the supply run." Yuna handed him the tools along with a metal container filled with what looked like random junk to anyone else. But to human engineers, it was treasure. Circuit boards from old Earth computers, power couplings from Martian mining equipment, and even some kitchen utensils that had proven surprisingly useful in past repairs. Above them in the engine room, Admiral Kethvar watched nervously as Chief Engineer Park Jiho examined the destroyed quantum drive core. 3 other Zenthari engineers stood nearby, their 6 eyes wide with confusion as they observed the human repair methods. "Your engineers are inside our ship's nervous system," one of the Zenthari officers said, his voice tight with worry. "What, if they damage something important?" Jiho looked up from his scanner readings. "Admiral, your ship is already dead. We can't make it any worse, but we might be able to make it better." Deep in the maintenance tunnel, Deho had found the source of one major problem. The explosion had created a feedback loop that was draining power from the ship's main systems. In Zenthari thinking, this would require replacing the entire power distribution network at enormous cost. "Yuna, look at this," he said, pointing his flashlight at a tangle of burned wires. "The energy is jumping between these 2 conduits. If we can redirect it." He pulled out what appeared to be a coffee stirrer, a thin metal rod humans used for mixing drinks. The Zenthari had no equivalent because they absorbed their nutrition directly through their skin. But the stirrer was exactly the right size and material to bridge the gap between 2 alien power systems. "Are you really going to use that drinking tool to fix our starship?" asked a Zenthari engineer who had crawled down to watch. "Why not?" Deho grinned. "It's conductive, it's the right length, and it fits perfectly. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one." Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, engineer Han Minseo was tackling the damaged life support systems. The Zenthari design used complex crystalline filters that purified air through molecular manipulation. Half of them were shattered, and replacement crystals would take months to grow. But Minseo had noticed something interesting. The broken crystals were still partially functional. They just couldn't work together in the original configuration. So she began rewiring the system, connecting the surviving pieces in a new pattern that actually improved the airflow. "This is madness," muttered a Zenthari technician. "You cannot simply change our engineered systems." "Watch me," Minseo replied cheerfully, using duct tape to secure a human-made sensor into the alien filtration system. The tape was bright silver against the elegant purple of the Zenthari technology, but it held firm and created an airtight seal. Back in the engine room, the real challenge was the quantum drive core itself. The crystalline matrix that controlled faster-than-light travel was not just damaged, it was completely destroyed. No known technology could repair quantum crystals once they were broken. Except humans didn't know that was supposed to be impossible. Jiho studied the wreckage carefully. The crystal matrix is gone, but the housing is still intact. And look here, the magnetic containment field generators are damaged, but not destroyed. He called over to Kim Nari, who was working on a damaged control panel. What if we don't try to rebuild the original crystal? What if we create something new? Nari looked up from her work, tools still in her hands. You mean hybrid technology? Combine human and Zenthari systems? Exactly. We use our magnetic bottle fusion technology to create a new power source, then channel it through their existing quantum field generators. Admiral Kethvar stepped closer, his 6 eyes focused intently on the humans. That should not work. Our quantum systems require specific harmonic frequencies that your technology cannot produce. Maybe not exactly, Jiho admitted, but close enough, and sometimes close enough is better than perfect. Over the next several hours, the human team worked with an energy that amazed their alien observers. They didn't follow technical manuals or worry about warranty violations. When they needed a specific part that didn't exist, they made one. When 2 systems weren't compatible, they created an adapter from spare materials. Deho emerged from the maintenance tunnels covered in grease, but grinning widely. Power flow is restored to all major systems. Had to use some creative routing, but it works. Yuna followed him out, holding up a device that looked like it was built from kitchen appliances and computer parts. And I've got a backup power regulator made from coffee stirrers and circuit boards. It's not pretty, but it should handle any power surges. The Zenthari engineers stared at the improvised device. It violated every principle of their advanced engineering, yet their instruments showed it was functioning perfectly. As the day ended, something remarkable happened. The dead Zenthari warship began to hum with life. Lights flickered on throughout the vessel. The air recycling systems began working again, and deep in the engine room, the improvised quantum drive core started, generating the familiar blue glow of faster-than-light capability. Admiral Kethvar stared at his restored ship in wonder. How? He asked simply. Jiho wiped his hands on a rag and smiled. We just fixed what was broken. Retry SF. 3 days after the Zenthari warship left Titan Station, the communication arrays began lighting up like a festival. Captain O. Minho sat in the station's control center, watching message after message flood their systems from across the galaxy. Sir, called out Communications Officer Choi So-min, her voice filled with amazement. We're receiving requests from 17 different species. They all want to dock for repairs. Minho leaned back in his chair and rubbed his temples. 17? What kind of repairs? So-min scrolled through her screen. The Valith Empire says their flagship has shield problems that their engineers call impossible to fix. The Therian Collective has a battlecruiser that's been making strange noises for 3 years. And the Corvin Hegemony. She paused, reading carefully. They say their dreadnought is haunted. Haunted? That's what they claim. Electronic systems turning on and off by themselves. Their priests have performed purification rituals, but nothing works. Minho chuckled. Sounds like a short circuit to me. What else? The list kept growing. The crystalline ships of the Luminar wanted help with cracked hull segments that their technology couldn't seal. The biomechanical vessels of the swarm hierarchy had organic components that were rejecting their metal parts. Even the mysterious Shade Runners, who rarely spoke to anyone, were asking for assistance with cloaking devices that no longer worked properly. How did they all find out so quickly? Minho wondered aloud. His answer came 2 hours later when the first ship arrived. It was a sleek Etherian cruiser, its translucent hull gleaming like captured starlight. Captain Veltara materialized on their communication screen, her flowing form shifting between solid and energy states. Human engineers, she said, her voice like music through the translator. We encountered Admiral Kethvar at the Nexus trading station. He spoke of miracles performed by your people. Miracles? Minho raised an eyebrow. His ship was destroyed. Beyond all hope, yet now it functions better than when it was first built. His quantum drive operates at efficiency levels we thought impossible. How do you explain this? Minho smiled. We just fixed what was broken. Over the following weeks, Titan Station transformed into something nobody had expected. Ships from dozens of species formed orderly lines in space, waiting their turn for human attention. The station's original crew of 300 humans found themselves working alongside alien engineers who came not as customers, but as students. Young Xanthari officers shadowed human repair teams, learning to see problems differently. Therian technicians watched in fascination as humans turned damaged components into improved systems. Even the proud Valith began asking questions instead of giving orders. Engineer Bei Seojun found himself explaining human repair philosophy to a group of mixed alien officers in the station's main conference room. Most of your species design things to be perfect from the start, he said, gesturing at a holographic display showing various ship designs. When something breaks, you replace it with an identical perfect part. A Corvan engineer raised one of her forearms. This is the logical approach. Why would you not want perfection? Because perfect things are fragile, Seojun replied. They only work under perfect conditions. But space isn't perfect. Combat isn't perfect. Life isn't perfect. He switched the display to show before and after images of repaired alien ships. When we fix something, we make it stronger, more flexible, better able to handle problems we haven't even thought of yet. The examples were impressive. A Valith shield generator that had been repaired with human components now projected barriers twice as strong as the original. A Therian sensor array, fixed with improvised human parts, could detect threats from 3 times the normal distance. A luminar hull crack, sealed with human metal mesh, had become the strongest part of the entire ship. But the most dramatic example was a swarm hierarchy bioship that arrived half dead, its organic components rejecting the mechanical systems that kept it alive. Human engineer Yang Demi had spent 2 weeks creating hybrid interfaces that allowed the biological and mechanical parts to work together instead of fighting each other. Your ship isn't just repaired, she explained to the swarm captain, a creature that looked like a cross between an insect and a plant. It's evolved. The organic parts are now helping the mechanical systems work better, and the mechanical parts are supporting the organic growth. The captain's compound eyes glittered with something that might have been amazement. In our understanding, organic and mechanical cannot truly merge, yet you have made them friends. More than friends, Dami grinned. Partners. Word of these successes spread faster than light through the galaxy's communication networks. Species that had been suspicious of each other for centuries found themselves waiting in the same repair queues, sharing stories of human engineering miracles. The Xanthari Admiral Kethvar became something of a celebrity, traveling from system to system and telling anyone who would listen about the impossible repairs performed by human engineers. His ship, now running better than ever, served as living proof of human capabilities. But perhaps the most significant moment came when Captain Ziltar of the Machina Collective arrived. The Machina were artificial intelligences who had long considered themselves superior to all organic life. Their ships were marvels of computational precision, designed by minds that could calculate 1,000,000 possibilities in seconds. We do not require repairs, Ziltar announced when he docked. We wish to observe your methods. Our analysis suggests that your success rate should be mathematically impossible. Chief Engineer Park Ji-ho met the artificial being at the airlock. Captain, you're welcome to watch us work, but I should warn you, what we do doesn't always make mathematical sense. That, replied the AI, is precisely what we need to understand. Master Engineer Bei Seojun sat across from Captain Ziltha in the station's small cafe, watching the Therian officer stir her nutritional drink with obvious discomfort. Her ship, the Crystal Wing, floated outside the viewport, its elegant hull marred by years of small damages that her people had simply learned to live with. You must understand our way, Captain Ziltha explained, her voice carrying the musical quality common to her species. When our ships reach 85% operational efficiency, we replace them entirely. It is cleaner, more predictable. Seojun nodded, sipping his coffee. And expensive. Cost is not the issue. We value perfection over economy. She gestured toward her ship. The Crystal Wing has served for 47 years. By our standards, it should have been scrapped 15 years ago. But you kept it. Her large silver eyes showed something like embarrassment. Sentimental attachment, a weakness perhaps. Now it makes sounds our engineers cannot identify, and systems fail in ways our manuals do not cover. Through the cafe window they could see human engineer Han Minseo crawling along the outside of the Therian ship, her magnetic boots keeping her attached to the hull. She pressed her ear against different sections, listening carefully to the ship's heartbeat. "What is she doing?" Ziltha asked, puzzled. "Listening," Seojin replied simply. "Human engineers learn to recognize the sounds machines make when they're happy, sad, or sick. Machines do not have emotions, don't they?" Seojin smiled. "Your ship has been working hard for 47 years. It's tired. Some of its parts are wearing out, but they're trying to compensate for each other. That creates stress, and stress makes noise." Inside the ship, engineer Lee Daeho was having a conversation with the Therian chief technician, a tall being named Kelvis. They stood in front of a control panel that flickered randomly, displaying error messages in the flowing Therian script. "This system has been malfunctioning for 6 months, Kelvis explained. "Our diagnostics show no hardware failures, yet it continues to behave erratically." Daeho studied the panel carefully, then did something that made the alien engineer step back. In alarm, he hit it with his fist. The panel stopped flickering and displayed normal readings. "How did you know to do that?" Kelvis asked, his voice filled with wonder. "Experience." Daeho grinned. "Sometimes connections get loose, but not loose enough for your fancy diagnostics to detect. A little percussive maintenance helps them remember where they're supposed to be." Meanwhile, in the engine room, 2 very different conversations were happening simultaneously. Chief Engineer Yang Dami was explaining human repair philosophy to a group of alien observers while her hands worked automatically on a damaged power coupling. "The difference between us and most species," she said, not looking up from her work, "is that we come from a world where nothing was ever perfect. Our planet was harsh. Resources were limited. We learned early that you don't throw away something just because it's not working perfectly." A Valith engineer in the group raised one of his forearms. "But surely there comes a point where replacement is more efficient than repair." Dami finally looked up, her hands now covered in grease. "Maybe. But we've never found that point yet." She gestured to the power coupling she'd been working on. "This component was designed to last 50 years. It's been running for 87. Instead of replacing it, I'm going to give it a few helper circuits, and it'll run for another 50. "That seems unelegant," commented a Luminar observer, her crystalline form shimmering with disapproval. "Elegant is nice," Dami admitted, "but functional is better." The real revelation came 3 days later when Captain Ziltha's ship was ready for its test flight. The crystal wing had been transformed, not just repaired, but enhanced. The mysterious sounds were gone, replaced by the smooth hum of systems working in harmony. But more impressive were the improvements. The ship's sensors now had a range 30% greater than their original specifications. The engines operated more efficiently than when the ship was new. Even the artificial gravity felt more stable and comfortable. "I do not understand," Captain Ziltha said to Seojin as they reviewed the technical reports. "Your people did not simply fix our problems. You made our ship better than it was designed to be." Seojin leaned back in his chair. "That's the thing about human engineering. We don't just fix things back to the way they were. We ask ourselves, now that we're here anyway, what else can we improve?" He brought up a holographic display showing the ship's internal modifications. "Your environmental systems were working fine, but we noticed they could be more efficient. Your hull plating was undamaged, but we reinforced it at stress points we identified. Your computer core was functioning normally, but we optimized its processing paths. But these improvements were not requested. Why spend the extra effort?" "Because we can't help ourselves," Seojin laughed. "It's like, imagine you're cleaning your house and you notice a loose door handle. You don't just clean around it, you fix the handle while you're there." Captain Ziltha was quiet for a long moment, studying the technical specifications. "Our engineers will want to understand these modifications. Would it be possible for some of them to work alongside your people?" "Of course, but I should warn you, they'll probably go home thinking very differently about engineering." As if to prove his point, the Machina AI Captain Ziltar approached their table. His mechanical form moved with perfect precision, but his optical sensors focused on Seojin with what seemed like curiosity. "Engineer Bay," the AI said, "I have observed your teams for 72 hours. I have recorded 247 instances where your people chose suboptimal solutions that nevertheless produced superior results. This should not be possible." "Maybe your definition of optimal is too narrow," Seojin suggested. The AI's head tilted slightly. "Explain." "You calculate the best solution based on the information you have, but reality always has surprises. Our suboptimal solutions work better because they expect the unexpected." Captain Ziltar processed this for several seconds. "You engineer for uncertainty rather than perfection." "Exactly. Perfect solutions are brittle. Good enough solutions are flexible." 1 year after the first Valith ship arrived, Admiral Park Jiho stood before the Titan station complex, now expanded into a massive orbital city. Hundreds of alien vessels floated in organized queues, their crews patient despite waiting times that stretched for months. His second-in-command, Commander Yujiwan, approached with the daily reports. "Sir, we've received a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. Their administrative flagship has suffered what they're calling impossible system cascading failures. They're requesting our expertise." Jiho looked out at the bustling station where dozens of species worked alongside human engineers, learning to see problems not as obstacles but as puzzles to solve. "Send word to the council," he said. "Tell them we'll take a look. After all..." He paused, watching a human engineer show a young Valith apprentice how to use a wrench. "Nothing's impossible. It just hasn't been fixed by a human yet."